Hello, hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our show titled Speak of Africa. We thank you very much. You shared our last video a whole lot and you commented a whole lot. We reached over 11 million views. This is awesome. Thanks to you, we are having all these views. It is actually the International Female Women's Day, March 8th, and we've really celebrated this day. We thank the women. And of course, in La République du Cameroun, Chantal Biya came out as Madame la Présidente. You could see her on the Boulevard de 20 Mai. People were looking at her and she was officiating as the President of La République du Cameroun. So that's great. So we say this is a day we salute women. We will think that on a day that we salute women, we also have to start thinking about our problems. The problems that we face in our area. We'll talk about Ambazonia 2026, the Ambazonia War in 2026. So far, people tend to want to forget this war, but events always have their way. They behave in a way in which they make us remember the war. This week, Belgium decided to arrest 4 Ambazonian citizens, and this made a whole lot of news. You should understand that Ambazonians have been having issues trying to internationalize this war. But some of these foreign countries are giving the impression that they want justice to follow its course. They are accusing some of these Ambazonians of war crimes. But we think this accusation should not be a one-way street. What about La République du Cameroun? Most of these international organizations and countries should not just let the Biya government slide without taking action. Just like they arrested Dr. Choayaba in 2024, in Belgium, 4 Ambazonians were arrested. They are part of the ADF. The ADF stands for Ambazonia Defense Forces. This is a freedom movement formed by Dr. Ayabacho Lucas, and it has been going on for a while, since 2017. Everything started. We're going to give you a good explanation. We know the sound bites draw a lot of attention. When these Ambazonians were arrested in Belgium, this made a whole lot of noise. All the newspapers are internationalizing this news. They're talking about it. But we want to put things in perspective. Today, we're going to also talk about the root cause of this conflict. We're going to talk about the birth of the Amba boys. We're going to talk about the growth of guerrilla warfare. We're going to talk about diaspora support. And we're going to tell you the way this conflict has become a military stalemate. So there are 5 phases we're going to discuss right now. So let's start with the root of the conflict. In our past videos, we told you that the root cause of the Ambazonia war is mismanagement and the incompetence of the Paul Biya regime. Protesters, unarmed. These were students, these were lawyers. They were just protesting against the Biya regime. But Paul Biya sent his military to go after them, to beat them, kill them. As a result, this conflict now morphed into a full-fledged insurgency. What are the problems? Why were the people protesting? Well, Cameroon is not really a country in the traditional sense of it. Cameroon is a colonial plantation. It's a French colonial plantation. And people of English extraction are unhappy living in the French plantation. They want to live in a country that they call their own, a country where they have freedom, politically, economically, and socially. Since the so-called flag independence, they have not really enjoyed citizenship. They feel they are second-class citizens in their own country. They try to make their voices heard by their government, but the government instead sends thugs to beat and kill them. Just like the francophones say, Paul Biya ne négocie pas, il agresse, il tue. C'est ce qu'il fait. Paul Biya doesn't like to negotiate with anybody because he feels he has the military power. He will just beat you up and kill you. That's the guy's way of operating. So when these lawyers and teachers started protesting, What were they protesting about? Well, the teachers did not like the way they were Frenchifying their classrooms. What about the lawyers? The lawyers were trained in common law, which is their British heritage. So they looked unkindly at the encroachment of civil law, which is a French system, in their country. They didn't like this. When they started protesting, Biya sent his thugs to beat and kill them. Matters came to a head when the people decided that they are going to resist in full. As much as the Biya soldiers were beating and killing them, they continued protesting. Initially, they resisted with palm fronds, leaves. They didn't have any weapons. They were just using plants, peace plants, to protest. As if this was not enough, the Biya regime reacted violently. With state force, a lot of these people were killed. And this is what led to the birth of the so-called Amba boys. Initially, they were calling them Amba boys because the military of La République du Cameroun did not give them a chance. What are these little boys going to do? These Amba boys, they are just 2 cubes of sugar. What are they going to do to a formidable military, a formidable B, Bataillon d'Intervention Rapide, Biya's private army? What are these young kids going to do? Because the early guys who started resisting the Biya regime in 2016 were really students, disaffected youth who were unemployed. They're the ones who started protesting. They were the ones who started using machetes later on when peace plans could not work. They started resisting by using machetes. Then after that, they started using Dane guns. Okay? These are some of the guns that people use for hunting. But the Biya's thugs and soldiers were killing them with joyful abandon. Okay? The Amba boys now were not really trained because these guys have never really been soldiers. They did not have military training. So few of them could really act the way a real army acts. So they were just improvising as they went along. But at the same time, on this show, I did a video. I warned the Cameroon government. I said, please, do not allow these so-called Amba boys to get better. Because today you may be laughing at them, but this laughter will not last. Just give them time. They will improve. They will become very effective. They will become a very indomitable fighting force. Did the Biya regime listen to me? No, they did not. And that's why the Amba boys became formidable. And that's when Paul Atanganji came into the picture. He created his own fake Amba boys, started terrorizing the people. Whatever went wrong, he would say, oh no, it is the fault of the Amba boys. No, the Amba boys were not given a chance. And this is what created the rise of the militia. Different militias came into being. Of course, one of the first guys who started advocating the use of force, military force, armed resistance, is Dr. Ayabacho Lucas. He created the ADF, Ambazonia Defense Forces, which became really formidable. Ayabacho Lucas was not alone. He differed significantly from Sisiko Ayoktabe. Sisiko Ayoktabe had advocated peace. He was thinking that by going through international organizations, he would be able to get the Paul Biya regime to comply and respect law and order. Little did he know that Mr. Paul Biya runs his country like a gang leader. He does things as he feels. But Ayabacho Lucas of ADF, who is now languishing in jail in Norway, is the pioneer. He was the first guy who saw the wisdom. I mean, he predicted that the best way to respond to the Biya regime's brutality is to create a militia that can fight this government and challenge them and protect the citizens of Ambazonia. He was right, because his movement made a whole lot of differences on the ground. Militant groups such as Sokadef, led by Akwanka. So you have so many other guys too who formed their own groups, and they were resisting the occupation of the Biya regime. And this is why we started having what you call guerrilla warfare. The guys realized that they could not really fight the Biya B it was not that B was undefeatable, but the problem was B had weapons. These guys do not really have weapons, so they were making the weapons themselves at home. They started fabricating weapons. And one of the guys who started this movement was the so-called Field Marshal, the Field Marshal of Libya, Olivier Keka. He's the one who really started this movement, and he made his Le Français, all those weapons, started building them and parading them on social media. And he became very, very invisible. He became big news. People always remember the videos of Olivier Lekeka. Very, very great, a charismatic freedom fighter. And his brother is our good friend Chris Ano. He contributed a lot to this struggle. So he may be gone, but I think these are the heroes of the Ambazonia revolution. They may die today, but they will not be forgotten tomorrow. They will always live in the hearts of the people of Ambazonia because they did a lot to liberate the homeland. I will not really forget, every end of the year, Biya will make a speech and tell his generals, I need the head of Olivier Lekeka Field Marshal. He always failed. And Field Marshal would always make a new video challenging, taunting the government. He got to a point of even making a video with his guys dancing in the bush to the music of Fale Ipupa. This was really great. Those were the heydays of guerrilla warfare. Then, of course, who will forget General Ivor? The first time I saw General Ivor, I asked myself, why are so many people listening to this little boy? Later, I started finding out more about General Ivor Mba. He too was one of those heroes. He did a lot for the movement. It is true, he became a martyr, he died before his time, but he did a lot for this revolution. So these are names that will never be forgotten. When the history of Ambazonia is going to be written, General Ivor would play a big, significant role. He will have a big chapter because he did a lot to liberate Ambazonia. Okay? Then, of course, you will never forget Nopiri. Nopiri was so dramatic. His exploits are the history of legend. Even today, some people are still thinking Nopiti is alive. General Nopiti. People still think it's alive. But as we speak, the guerrilla warfare continues. People may say there's a stalemate. Yes, there's a military stalemate. But the fighting continues. Every week you hear Ambazonian freedom fighters killing people from Biya's military. Biya military retaliates, kills innocent citizens. So this tit for tat continues. But what about international action? So far, there's no international action that has taken place. And that's why people became frustrated, which is why we go now to the fourth stage. That's why people from the diaspora got into the action. They realized that the foreign powers were not really taking any role in this conflict. The people of Ambazonia were left to their own devices. They were left to die. They were left to be killed by the Biya government, which is why the citizens of Ambazonia who are living abroad decided to take the law into their own hands, and which is why the Ambazonia started relying on the diaspora. The diaspora. And of course, most of the people in the diaspora are disaffected youth. These are people that have been chased out of La République du Cameroun by the bad governance of the Biya regime. So now they saw an opportunity to fight against their enemy. The guy who chased them into exile needs to be punished. So they saw the war in Ambazonia now as a way for them to give it to Mr. Paul Biya and his gang. And that's how diaspora support fits in. When you hear about people supporting the war at home, they are living in Europe, but they are supporting the war at home, it's because the people of the diaspora wanted to contribute to this struggle. The way they could contribute was to raise money and send it home. Some of them have been accused of using weapons, killing people, but there's really no proof. Even Dr. Cho Ayaba, there's no proof that has been shown that he is directly connected with the killing of people in Ambazonia. No proof has been established. There's no court. But the way the Europeans work, they work together. Can you remember that Ayabacho is held in Norway, and for many years it's not been tried since 2024? Yet, the Norwegian government is collaborating with the government of Belgium to incriminate Cameroonians who are in Europe. Is this fair? It remains to be seen. But we have to understand that what is really causing this problem is the need for Cameroon resources. A lot of these European countries need Cameroon's resources, and they are doing business with the government of Paul Biya. Norway, for example, trades heavily with La République du Cameroon. In the area of sustainable energy, Norway is collaborating with Cameroon, and they have pumped a lot of money, a lot of millions into the Cameroonian market. So they want to be in the good books of the Biya regime. They don't care about the bad governance record of the Biya regime. They just want money. They need Cameroon's resources. So that's blood money. But Norway wants this money. So when we see a country that should be a European country built on laws, this country now is flaunting its own laws to hold somebody in custody, and there's no fair trial. Then where is Western democracy? Is this how you should treat somebody in a democratic country? If you accuse somebody, we would assume that in common law, he is innocent until proven guilty. But they've already condemned Ayabacho, even though this guy has not been tried yet. He's been held against his will, and they don't want him to be free. They are thinking that by holding him, this will kill the spirit of Ambazonians. But freedom is a spirit. It doesn't die. It is not like the flesh of a human being that you can kill. You can kill the body, but you cannot kill the spirit. As much as Dr. Ayabacho Lucas has remained in prison in Norway, the movement, the ADF, is now a movement. It's not just a military army of liberation. Now, these are people who are fighting for freedom, and they are not fighting physically, they are fighting spiritually. So in the spiritual realm, the Ambazonians are winning. As much as some of the foreign guys are discouraging them, but they are fighting and winning. So when this news comes out of Belgium, it makes so much noise. It's just like much ado about nothing. The 4 guys who have been arrested, they're going to try them. Let's see. Let them not wait for too long before any trial takes place, because it makes so much news. The only good thing, as we say, there's no cloud without a silver lining. By arresting these 4 Ambazonians in Belgium, Belgium is internationalizing the struggle of Ambazonia. More and more people, if the governments of European countries, if the EU does not want to recognize Ambazonia, does not want to recognize the fact that Ambazonians are suffering, now there are people who will be forced to recognize the suffering of Ambazonians. So by arresting these 4 guys, they are doing Ambazonia a favor, because now the mass media in those countries, Belgium, Britain, they have published so many articles about the arrest of these Ambazonians in Belgium. So this is helping to internationalize the struggle of Ambazonia. So instead of looking at the negative aspect, I prefer to look at the positive aspect. The arrest of these 4 Ambazonians in Belgium is spreading the word about the plight of Ambazonians in La République du Cameroun. So let's mark our words. So the diaspora support is not limited to just Belgium. Let's roll the tape back. Even Ayabacho, who has been arrested in Norway. Why was he arrested? It's because they suspect that he has been supporting the war effort. So they want to look for a way to make him pay a price. Is this justice? Well, we don't look at this like real justice. We look at this like the justice of a kangaroo European court. Because if somebody is found guilty, if you want justice, then why not also incriminate the Biya forces? Do that. So that will be fair play. Everything has to be balanced. But so far, most of these European governments prefer to go and spend time with the Biya people. This is not justice. Finally, we get to the stage of the military stalemate. Every week you hear of Ghost Town, Ghost Town, Ghost Town. The people are forced to respect Ghost Town. Biya's thugs and militia go in, kill citizens, civilians who are unarmed because they suspect that they are supporting the Ambazonia restoration forces. So the people are really caught between a rock and a hard place. The military, the Ambazonia restoration forces. So the people are really in a tight position, very, very tight. It's a tough place to be. Okay? If they do something, the Ambazonia guys says, oh, you're supporting Biya's regime. If they do the reverse, the Biya regime accuses them. So the people are really caught in between. And this fighting has gone on for so long, since 2016, and it's almost a decade, and the fighting continues. Initially, the Biya's forces were thinking the people will be overpowered in 2 days. Oh, the Ambazonia guys are 2 cubes of sugar. They will put them in water and they will dissolve in a minute. After over 9 years, the Ambazonians remain strong. They believe in their cause. And we're hoping that the international community can step in now. Instead of only looking at Cameroon's resources, the international community needs to bring Biya's people to the table to negotiate real peace, real dialogue. A dialogue means 2 parties sit at the table and negotiate their problem. It doesn't mean Mr. Biya should dictate the terms to the Ambazonian people. Right now, that's what is happening. This morning, I read a letter from Sheikh Conrad, who is suffering in a Congo prison now. He was writing to the Pope because he said the Pope may be visiting La République du Cameroun soon. The Pope has moral authority, but the way the Pope is handling the issue in Cameroon may make him lose this moral authority. People are asking, why are you, Mr. Pope, coming to La République du Cameroun when you know this country is like Sodom and Gomorrah? Are you going to tell the Biya people to do the right thing for once? They are expecting you to visit their country. Instead, they are using the Pope as part of their propaganda prop. Is the Pope going there to collect money and forget about the poor? The role of the Pope is to support the poor people. That's what a Pope should be doing. The Pope should not be aligning himself with countries that have money because they will give him money. The Pope should be aligning himself with the poor people. For example, when Atanganji tried to bribe the Pope refused the money. That's good. But why is the Pope going to the République du Cameroun? What's the motive? People are thinking that this is the wrong time for the Pope to travel to La République du Cameroun because it sends the wrong message. It gives the world the impression that the Pope is supporting the hardship, the poverty, the death of people in La République du Cameroun. Because the Pope doesn't have any way to show Mr. Biya that you should not be killing your own citizens. So what's he going there? Well, most people have just assumed the Pope is going there because the Pope wants to collect a big paycheck. The Pope needs money from the Biya regime. The Biya regime uses money to clean its image. By giving money to the Catholic Church, the Biya regime makes its image clean. That's the water it uses to whitewash its image, its dirty image. But why is the Pope going along for this ride? That's the question your average Cameroonians are asking. Even in Douala, the people have decided that they're going to protest the papal visit because that's the only way they can show that they don't like what is happening in their country. So we've come to the end of our show, but we want you to remember the Ambazonian struggle is still there. We've been covering this. We've made many videos where we educate you on Ambazonia, but people may ask us, why can't you update us? We are updating you now. With the arrest of these 4 Ambazonians in Belgium, the focus has turned again on the plight of the people of Ambazonia. What is going to happen? The crisis group also is advising the Europeans and the Americans, please do something about this conflict. You always wait until matters get to a head, until things really get off, then you come in when it's too late. Why are they not intervening in Ambazonia? The reasons are simple. Most of them don't want to create problems with France. Cameroon is just like the backyard of France. France owns all the resources in Cameroon. So America and the Europeans do not want to interfere. They want to give France a free hand. because France looks at any interference as a hostile dispensation towards their country, and they don't like that. But what's going to give? Well, reality eventually will sink in. Reality will sink in. So what do you think about what is happening now in Ambazonia? Please use our comment section to write what you think. Do you think the conflict should continue? Do you think Biya should be held accountable? What do you think? Give me your opinion. May God bless you.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.